You've probably heard of the BRRRR method. It stands for buy, rehab, rent, and refinance. I've utilized that method to buy over $50 million worth of real estate without using any of my own money. And no, I didn't inherit money from my parents. I didn't have an entrepreneurial household. I figured it out through trial and error and learning from others. But this isn't 2021 anymore. Interest rates are higher, house values are higher, appraisals are stricter, and it just doesn't look the same. And everywhere I look, I see the BRRRR method is dead. It's usually from people who never really did it right in the first place or only did it in 21 and 2022. There is a path to still utilize the BRRRR method in 2026 and beyond. I'm gonna walk you through each step of the BRRRR method right now so you can fully understand how you can still implement the BRRRR method in 2026. At the end of this video, I'm even gonna give you a bonus letter, an S, that explains how to really scale this. This is the BRRRR method for beginners or people that have bought a few rental properties and want to continue to scale, because most strategies don't allow you to scale like the BRRRR method does. If you truly want to scale a rental portfolio that will create wealth for you and allow you to increase your net worth exponentially and allow you to eventually quit your job when you want, this method is for you and this video is for you right now, so lock in. The first step of the BRRRR method is B. It stands for buy. This is where 90% of newer real estate investors get it wrong. You make your money, you create your equity when you buy. You need to understand how to properly buy real estate. And if you do that and you buy properties the right way, you can utilize the rest of the BRRRR method pretty easily. What you're going to want to do here when you're looking to buy a distressed property, the number one thing to do is to be conservative in your underwriting process. The formula you're going to use to underwrite properties to buy is the max allowable offer formula. I'm not gonna go over in detail in this video. I have several videos on this channel that talk about it. But the formula is the MAO formula. It is ARV, which is the after repair value, what the house is worth after it's fixed up, times 75% minus all your repairs and holding costs. You run that formula and you will come up with an offer price on whatever distressed property you're coming across. Now, the key here is to be conservative in this formula. Use the lowest value comps that you find. You're being conservative there, and make sure to add some fluff in the rehab and the holding cost column. If you do that, you will probably pass on some deals because you won't be able to bid enough. You won't be able to come to the price that the homeowner or that the wholesaler or that the real estate agent is trying to offer. However, it's not going to get you in trouble. You won't buy as many, but the ones that you do buy will work, and you will buy real estate using none of your own money. You will add rentals using none of your own money. So for example, if you're looking to buy a house that is worth between $300,000 and $325,000, meaning you found comps of a fixed up house that sold for $305,000, $315,000, and $325,000. That would tell you that that house is going to be in that range once it's fixed up. Go with the lowest number. Go with that $300,000 or $305,000 for your ARV in your formula. And if you look at all the rehab costs and holding costs and it comes to about $40,000, make sure to add some fluff. I would put about $50,000 in my formula. So the formula I would use for that one is $300,000 times 75%, which is $225,000, minus $50,000, which is $175,000. So I would pay $175,000 for that house. And if you do that and you're conservative, you leave yourself a lot of room for equity, you leave yourself a lot of room for screw ups, and you leave yourself a lot of room to have a lower amount that you're going to be refinancing. The best way to get properties at lower costs is to go to wholesalers and real estate agents that are in the distressed property game, that are in the real estate investing realm. Go to them and find these off-market properties, not properties you find on Zillow or the MLS. We're talking off-market properties. You can get that through connections, or you can go direct to seller marketing. We're not going to cover that today, but just know there are millions of distressed properties across the United States right now. In every city and pretty much every neighborhood, there are at least a few distressed properties that will make perfect deals for you. You're just not going to find them by scrolling through the internet. You have to be proactive. Step number 2 is the rehab step. This is where you're actually taking action and rehabbing the property. Now you have to be very conservative here and you have to be very smart here, because when you rehab a property, you are creating the equity, you're creating the potential lack of or actual future maintenance, and you're adding value to the property. Those that know how to rehab the right way, those that rehab for rental property specifics, those are the ones that cash flow, and those are the ones that get the appraisal that they need. If you rehab the property the right way, you're going to attract the best tenants. And what does the right way mean? The right way is putting granite countertops on, putting backsplashes in the kitchen, doing luxury vinyl plank. What you want to do is you want to make this property tenant proof to a certain degree. Meaning, if you get a tenant that moves in and they move out in 3 years, you're not replacing carpet, you're cleaning luxury vinyl plank. You're not having to patch a ton of walls in the kitchen, you're actually just cleaning the tile that is the backsplash. So it's a little more cost up front to make the property hard surfaces everywhere. However, you're going to get a higher appraisal and you're going to have less maintenance and less turnover costs when the tenants do move out. So putting a little bit of extra money on the front end is going to attract better tenants, and those better tenants will pay you more rent more regularly. I understand that the rehab process can be very scary for someone who's never done it and is newer in real estate. So the best way to combat that is to, when you get the property under contract to purchase, make sure you're putting a 10 to 15 to 20 day contingency period in there that is an inspection contingency, a financial contingency, whatever contingency you can put on there that's true, have that. And in that time frame, bring someone who's experienced into the property to confirm your rehab budgets and your rehab numbers, actually get bids from contractors so you know how much it's going to actually cost, and really cover your bases. So when that contingency is up, you know for sure that yes, this is a deal and it's what I thought it was going to be, or no, this needs way more work than I thought and I'm in way over my head. Then you can legally, ethically, and morally back out of the deal because you're within that contingency period. Or maybe you can go back and renegotiate with the seller or the wholesaler that brought you the deal. Work with reputable contractors that work with investors, because contractors that work with investors are going to give you better deals because you're hopefully going to potentially give them more consistent work. And if you have a good scope of work and a good rehab budget, you can really dial in the process and really understand what it's going to cost before you actually put in that cost. And if you need help doing that, check out the description. I have a rehab calculator that's for free for you. And kind of a pro tip to help maximize the buy and the rehab step is to get low rate financing. If you're looking to finance the purchase and the rehab of a property, the lower rates you can get to actually purchase those, because it's not going to be your own money, will help you have lower costs of money and less money in the deal. And obviously you're going to cash flow more if you're refinancing a lower amount. So the best places to go for those are private money lenders. Private money lenders are the best place to get short-term finance. You're going to get the best rates with the most flexible terms. Hard money lenders are great as well. I would suggest giving FasterFreedom Capital a shot. We can connect you with some of the lowest rate hard money lenders in the country, like sub 10% for hard money, which is very rare. So if you're able to finance the initial purchase and rehab below 10%, your money cost in the deal is going to be less. You're going to have to refinance less, and you will cash flow more in this environment that's a little tougher to cash flow in. Step number 3 is rent. This is where you lock in your cash flow and you ensure that your property is going to be a long-term wealth producing asset. You see, you borrowed money from that private lender or hard money lender or FasterFreedom Capital to buy the property and to fix up the property. You need to get the property cash flowing and make it a cash producing asset before you move on to the next step. Getting tenants in your property can be very easy, or it can be very difficult and can be very scary. The narrative of getting a call at midnight to replace a leaky toilet or change a light bulb is not realistic. However, if you don't know how to approve tenants and don't approve a tenants the right way, it can be a pain in the butt. Doing maintenance calls at times you don't want to, maybe on the weekend, or trying to chase down people to collect rent. I used to tell people, spend some time managing your own property because no one's going to manage the property like you. But I think it's not as black and white as it used to be. If you have the time, energy, and effort to understand how to manage properties and you use a property management software, then you can save some extra money, and it's probably going to maybe cost you 5 hours a month, maybe less, to manage a few properties. It's not going to be a ton of time, but it does need you to stay top of mind on things. things. If you're busy and you don't know how to attract tenants, you don't have the personality to deal with tenants, just hire it out. Okay? Cash flow is not the reason you buy real estate in today's market. You buy real estate because you don't have to use any of your own money. It's going to go up in value. Somebody else is paying down the mortgage, the principal balance, which is adding net worth to you, and you're saving money on taxes. Cash flow is just a bonus, and it will grow over time because rent exceeds expenses, so you will cash flow more. So if you're cutting into your cash flow by hiring out someone else to manage it, but it's completely off of your plate, I think that is a win. The one thing you do need to keep top of mind, though, is you need to manage your property managers. You need to have meetings with them once a month. You need to track what they're doing, look at their reports, and hold them accountable. If they know you're going to be holding them accountable, they will do a better job managing your property, and everyone will win. And if you do steps 1, 2, and 3 the right way, you will find good tenants. Do not get worried about not being able to find tenants. There are way more good tenants out there than good landlords, and we are a renter nation. A lot of people have to, and a lot of people surprisingly want to rent. So if you have a good rental property that you bought, you put luxury vinyl plank in, you put that granite countertop in, guess what? You're going to attract really, really good tenants that take care of your property, that stay a long time, and that pay you on time, and you're gonna win. Step number 4 is the refinance step. This is the end crescendo of the entire BRRRR method. What you're doing here is you're getting a new loan, a long-term loan that you're going to use to pay off your initial private lender or hard money lender their money plus interest. And instead of having a 6 or 12-month loan that you have on the short-term side, you're having a 20, 25, or maybe even 30-year loan that you're having as a mortgage that the tenant's rent is paying back over the next 20, 25, or 30 years. Rates are not at the height that they were a few years ago, but they are still relatively high. So the key here is going to be twofold. Number 1, meet the appraiser at the property. Whoever you go with for your long-term finding is going to send out a third party, non-employed by them, appraiser to get a market value of the property. They're going to do what we did in that first step. They're going to do that ARV thing. They're going to look for properties that have sold that are like your house, just like you did at the very beginning. And if you did a good job, they're going to find the same or very similar properties priced the same. But if you meet them, you're able to shake their hand, connect with them, and you will get a higher appraisal. This one is non-negotiable. Every single time I've met an appraiser or someone on my team has met an appraiser at a property, walked them through everything that we've done, showed them how much money we put in the deal, showed them what we think it's worth and why, we've gotten the number we needed or more. The times we haven't met an appraiser there, we got the number we needed, very rarely more, and sometimes we've gotten less than we needed. So meet the appraiser there, but aside from that, find the right long-term financial partner. Small local banks used to be the play here. For 80% of my investing career, we would go to a few small local banks. They would give us a 25-year mortgage at 4.5%, 5.5%, whatever the rates were. Everything was easy peasy. We'd cash flow and it was great. Well, small local banks follow the Fed's funds rate, and I think y'all know what the Fed has done to rates over the past several years. And now it's 7%, 7.5%, and that's hard to cash flow to go from a 4.5% loan to a 7.5% loan. That's hundreds of dollars a month that go from positively cash flowing 300 to negatively cash flowing 200. And this is why a lot of people are not cash flowing in today's market, because their long-term cost of capital is too high. So what you need to do here is get creative. And I kind of already alluded to who to go to. These long-term DSCR lenders, FasterFreedom Capital is one of them. We can do your short-term loans, but we can also do your long-term loans. We just did 2 loans this month that I'm recording this, 2 loans at 5.8% over 30 years. Typically, you're going to get between 6 and 6.5% over 30 years, and that is going to allow you to cash flow that $100, $200, $300 that you used to cash flow back in 2021. So just having this newer style of lending, this DSCR lending, makes a big difference. DSCR lending has been around for a while. However, it wasn't popular because that small local bank, that was the easy button. That's kind of went away. That's no longer the easy button. Now, these long-term 30-year DSCR lenders, fixed rate, are making a huge comeback and are becoming very, very popular. We do millions of dollars of loans every single month with our DSCR lenders because we have the lowest rates in the country. I don't want to make this a FasterFreedom Capital pitch. The link is in the description. However, there are other great long-term DSCR lenders. Go use them. I'm good either way. We don't mark up the rates anyway, but just find that partnership with that long-term 30-year loans and you will still cash flow in today's market. This is the number one thing that people are missing that don't think they can cash flow. And the final step, your bonus step of S for the BRRRR method is to systemize the process. Get systems in place along every single step and you will win. The people, the organizations, the companies that have systems are the ones that scale. Think about it. If you buy a McDonald's franchise, you get their systems and process, their point of sale services, how to order, when to order, how to hire, how to fire. You get their entire systems laid on your lap and you just follow the systems, follow the documentation, and you have a successful McDonald's franchise. Very similarly, you can follow someone else's systems within real estate investing. You can make your own for sure. You can try to figure out when to hire, when to fire, when to order the food, what to do, what point of sale service you should use for the McDonald's example. And if you're in real estate, you can figure out how to spend your marketing dollars, where to network to find deals, try to figure out what a rehab cost looks like, try to figure out which lenders to use, how to approve tenants, what questions to ask property managers. You can do that yourself, but the key here is systemization, and the quickest way to systemize, which then leads to scaling, is to follow someone else's systems and someone else's processes. Of course, buying 250 to 300 houses a year and owning 50 million in real estate, we have systems in place that we give to our community. So I guess now is a good point to mention that we do have a mentorship, a community that can help you. We have over 2,200 students inside of it, and we have people that are creating financial freedom every single day, quitting their jobs and living the lives that they've always wanted. Now, you can get as much for free as you want from me online through all my social media platforms, here on YouTube and on my podcast, The FasterFreedom Show. Listen to it, absorb it, use it. That's great. People send me DMs every day saying that they learn from my long form content, my YouTube, my podcast, and they actually go invest and make money. That's great. But if you're somebody that's busy and has a family and a job and has other obligations, the best way to use your limited spare time wisely is just plug in someone else's systems and processes. So I would highly suggest looking into other people's systems and other people's mentorships. Obviously, I think mine's great, but there are other great ones out there. If you want to learn more about my systems and processes and what I do, check the description for my free rental webinar. That is a free training that walks you through a lot of this in further detail. So there you have it. The BRRRR method is not dead. It is still alive. You just have to be consistent. You have to be smart about your investing, and you have to understand that you're not going to walk into a deal and cash flow $500 a month. However, every property that you buy now with the BRRRR method will double in value in the next 15 years. Someone else is paying down the mortgage. You're getting a little bit of cash flow. You're saving money on taxes, and you're building guaranteed wealth. So don't get too caught up on it's a little bit harder than you thought it would be or than it used to be. It is still worth it because wealth is still worth it and you're still worth it. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, share with a friend, and I will see you on the next one.